Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on LEDA's Community Conversations. We've been having these every week since the beginning of June. And over the past several months, we have been having them, like I said, every week. Starting now, we are going to transition to having them twice a month on the first and on the third Wednesday of each month. And that will give us time to find and prepare with some really fascinating guests on the show. But what I wanted to do is the reason we have these is to have people who don't ordinarily get heard to tell their stories, to help educate us, and to maybe give us a call to action for areas that they're working on. I'm focusing on BIPOC, which is Black, Indigenous, and people of color throughout our West Michigan communities. But I also will be bringing on allies, people who, through their work or through what they do or how they express themselves, are allies of all of our diverse communities. So I think that that will also encourage a lot of you to keep watching, because you can learn so much, but a lot of the questions that we are starting to get now is, what can I do? How can I help? How can I support? And I think that this is a perfect platform for that. So that is why we are having them. So today, I'm really pleased to introduce my guest. He is Coach Owens Derrick, and he is the hi, Coach.
How's it going?
Good, thank you. So now
Good.
I'm introducing you. So he is the head boys varsity basketball coach at Grand Rapids, East Grand Rapids High School.
Right.
He is the lead program director at the Boys and Girls Club in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And he has had a very interesting career. When we were chatting, he was born and raised in Detroit, so we spent some time chatting about all the different areas in Detroit that both of us knew. He graduated from Detroit St. Martin de Porres High School and received his bachelor's from Wayne State University. But what was interesting is Coach was placed in the foster care system during the turbulent civil rights era of the late 1960s. So there's a lot going on, particularly in the Detroit area, that has really impacted his life. So, but what's amazing is he's become, or became a 5-time state championship coach in basketball and a leader in the community. So Coach Derrick Owens has developed 7 championship game rules of basketball, which are transferable not just from basketball, but to life. And so we're going to talk a little bit about his background and how he's been able to do that. He's coached, well, we're going to talk about later on about some of his results. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
Coach, welcome. I'm really, really
Thank
pleased
you.
to have you on.
Thank you for
And
me.
so, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, especially growing up in Detroit?
Yes, I can. Thank you. My earliest memories are growing up at Sarah Fisher Orphanage in Farmington Hills, Michigan. And can't remember much before that, but we did end up going to our first foster home with the Moors in Detroit, Michigan, right by the Blessed Sacrament. We stayed between second and third, right off of Woodward. Born and raised in the parochial school system. Went to second foster home, 1966, I'd imagine. And we stayed with Mr. William and Grace Booker, who really solidified my foundation growing up in Detroit, Michigan, on the west side. And my dad, Mr. Booker, was a community leader. I remember him opening up the St. Teresa Men's Club right during that turbulent time. We had gangs around Detroit, and I saw him stand up to a gang member and saying, "You're not going to continue to jump on our kids in the St. Teresa community." And from that point on, I saw leadership. And he was very uncompromising. He taught me those lessons about life, choices, and he thought I was ready. I left his home at the age of 18. Went to General Motors University. Had an opportunity to go to Delta Community College to play basketball, but my head was not in the right place at that time. So I ended up going to General Motors in Ypsilanti, working in Hydromatic, and it made me grow up. I got married really early, into 77. And I think to get out the house, my wife asked one of my best friends to take him on as a coach. And ended up going to Detroit St. Hedwig, Polish-dominated community. Never had a person of color really coach them. So we were the first pioneers. And we have moderate success. I was bit by the bug right away. And with the success we had, the head coach there, Mike Fusco, I can mention his name, and LeBlanc Rowland, they went on to referee Bishop Borges, which created an opportunity for me to become the head coach at Detroit St. Hedwig High School, which I embraced. And I stayed there for 5 years and had an opportunity to go back to my alma mater, St. Martin de Porres High School. And the looks that I got walking through that door were profound, because when I left St. Martin de Porres, I was still growing up, making some choices I'm not very proud of. But I turned my life around, and they embraced me. And 7 years after that, I returned back to DePorres. Head coach Ed Rachel, a pioneer, first Black coach in the Detroit Catholic League, turned his program over to me after 27 years. He thought I wanted to take over it. I'm sorry.
I was going to ask, so how did the parents of the community react to that? Because you were, one of the first Black coaches, working.
Yes, it's a good question. First and foremost, the thing you find out about kids are, they go home and tell the truth. Coach Owens was very enthusiastic. Coach Owens cares about you as a person. Coach Owens held you accountable. But Coach Owens had the ability to make you feel good about yourself. And we had the opportunity to share passions of the game of basketball. And all parents really want to do is, are their kids in a safe environment? The facilitator of the environment, the coach, is he really caring for the kids? And I didn't have to say anything. The kids go home and tell the truth. And from that point in time, our relationships grew because I introduced them to barbecue ribs. They introduced me to pierogies. So it was a cultural exchange. We got a chance to break down barriers.
And that, you bring up a point which I think we don't always consider, especially if we're working with youth, is that children will go home and tell the truth.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Yes. So, we grew up in the turbulent 70s, early 70s, high school in 1972 on 12th Street and Webb. At that point in time, was a remnant of burnt down buildings, and parochial school system was diminishing. And it was a great place, a special place. I grew up there. I left there. I was very turbulent, very mad at the world. So I had to go through some growing pains. And my best friend, LeBlanc Rowland, and I, we looked back in our high school career. We said, you know what? We didn't agree with all the things they did for us in terms of the faculty and the positions they put us in. So we always said, well, we have an opportunity to coach kids and be a part of the educational system. We're going to do it. We're going to take what we learned from that time period and apply it to 1970s, late 70s, early 80s. And once again, the kids know if you care. We were very passionate about it and got results. They moved on to another school, and here I was, the right place at the right time, I guess, lack of a better word.
So tell us a little bit about your journey as a basketball coach, particularly as you start going through St. Martin de Porres and that journey, because that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, great opportunity, great time. I call myself a basketball vagabond. I've coached 11 different locations, different environments in my journey. I had to start at Detroit St. Hedwig. Those were the best times as I reflect back, because the pressures that come as I grew were different. I went to St. Martin de Porres, high profile school, went over 30 state championships. There was expectation in terms of results. And I wasn't probably the one they wanted to choose as you could forecast me being the head coach at St. Martin de Porres based on when I graduated. But once again, I tell people, everybody has the right to go through growing pains and grow up. And I grew up. So I got to the job, the head coaching job at St. Martin de Porres in 1993, like I said, and it took me 3 years to figure out how to win a state championship. Because what I found out was too many peripheral visions, outside noise. You had to shut off as a coach and stay with what you believe in, and have the team to buy in. And we did. We had success. We won 4 state championships in 7 years. So it propelled, but I decided to leave DePorres after my last state championship. Philosophical differences between the staff and myself, the administration. Not mad at anybody, but just time to leave. We're not for that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gloria.
I was going to say, so tell us about, do you keep in contact with any of your players from the St. Martin de Porres days?
Yes, I do. You know, we have the social media, Facebook, special times of the year, Coach Owens' birthday, just dialogue with certain student athletes that went through the program, and knowing that it was their birthday, so you reach out and touch. But yes, when you see them, they expect you to remember their names. And if I don't, they look at me like, Coach, you don't remember me? I played for you. But after 40 plus years of coaching and teaching, you somehow get names along the way. But social media is a great tool that we use just to reach out and say, how's life going? If you ever need me, call me. So no, I do stay in contact with them a lot. One of my kids that I really have a place in my heart is a young man by the name of DeAndre Haynes. He actually ended up coaching at the University of Michigan with John Beeline. And I never forget this. It's a short story I tell. I took my team from East Grand Rapids up there to play, and I got an opportunity to meet Coach Beeline. And I said, Coach, you know, I always wanted to coach at this level. He said, Coach Owens, you are coaching at this level through your kid. And that was very humbling for him to tell me that. And I just think that those are the connections, the impactful relationships that you have with kids. You know, that kid calls me every Father's Day, says, hey, Coach Owens, happy Father's Day. I'm not his father, but just that they take that time out to recognize the impactfulness our relationships had at that point in time in their lives, in my life too. So yes, you know, make contact with the kids.
And that's the other thing, besides remembering that, you know, the kids will always tell the truth at home, is the impact that someone like a coach or a teacher can, or, you know, an adult that works with them can have on a child's life. Exactly. Do you have any stories that you can tell us about someone that you worked with that has really made you think, wow, you know, I was so glad that I was a part of their life for even just a little bit?
I mean, you know, Gloria, there's so many young people, so many young men. Like the young person I just talked about, DeAndre Haynes, came from 23rd and Scott in Detroit, Michigan. I picked him out. At that point in time, I was coaching at Detroit Southwestern, the perennial high school that had Jalen Rose and all those national championship teams. Well, when I got there, the cover was empty. And I had to really challenge myself on becoming a coach. Here's this back-to-back state championship coach. Now you walk into your first practice and you're the tallest guy. And I never forget this. We won our first game and lost our next 6. And this same young man, DeAndre Haynes, that I spoke of earlier, came up to me with tears in his eyes. He said, Coach Owens, I know you're used to winning. I'm going to do everything in my power to help you win. At that point in time in my coaching career, I knew it wasn't about me. And I had to challenge myself. Well, you say you can coach? Well, coach these kids to the best of your ability. And I kid you not, their senior year, we went 6-15, right? So now we had the district championships in our gym at Detroit Southwestern. We played a team from Allen Park that's 20-0 and not lost a game. And we won the game. We won the district championship. And that was probably one of the most memorable times in my career. No, it wasn't a state championship, but just the kids that challenged me like, Coach, why are you coaching us? Why are you teaching us? What are you about? Can you bring that same energy to the environment? And they did. They won their last game as seniors, and it was something they remember to this day. We talk about it. And the young man, he's actually coaching right now at the University of Maryland. And we talk periodically, and those are the memories that are impactful. Because what I found out, not only do you impact young people's lives, they impact my life too.
I mean, you've already mentioned that, and that's great. You've already mentioned two young men that have gone on to coach, and I'm certain that they took or were inspired a lot by how you coached them.
Right.
You come up with, I believe, 7 championship game rules of basketball
Yes.
that are applied to life. Can you share with us what those 7 rules are and how they apply to basketball, and then how they could be applied to life itself?
I live by this. I've been given the privilege to coach in so many playoff championship games that you develop a philosophy, because early in your career you lose those games. You take a step back and say, wow, what did I do wrong? Because I'm the type of coach, I never blame my players for losses. I give them all the credit for wins. And so I had to look back and say, I made it to the Cavalier Championship four seasons in a row and lost 3 out of 4. So I had to look back at this and say, well, what did you not control? I'm never going to promise our teams that we're going to win. I'm going to promise our teams that we're going to prepare not to beat ourselves. So those 7 rules, I hold them accountable to. And rule number 1 is communication. Talk and answer. On the basketball floor, it's paramount that we continue, the championship teams continue a 32-minute conversation for the duration of the game. You talk to me, I answer you. And my challenge with them is when things go awry and the other team goes on a 10-0 roll and I call a timeout, I want everybody to come back with composure. Don't talk at each other, talk to each other. It's a difference in this life. Rule number 2, I'm a defensive-minded coach. Offense may win games, but defense wins championships. We work on it every day in my gym. They know my philosophy when it comes to that. We defend the basketball. Don't sit and tell me, I got my man, coach. No, the ball just went past you. We're in help now. So if that's the philosophy that I use when I come to anybody's gym, how good we playing defense? I'm talking about from the 3-point line to the baseline. The next rule is contest, no free looks at your basket. Box out, and rebound with authority, which leads into rule number 3. That was rebounding. Rebound with authority is number 3. Life's about rebounding. Goes back to you later. Rule number 4, every rebound secured the ball, turn, rip, and read. When I say that, the game says catch the ball and turn and square up to your basket in a triple threat position. I demand that from it. Why? Because the game demands those rules. Don't put the ball on the floor, then turn to face your basket. Chances are you don't know what's coming at you. Next, rule number 5, make free throws. How many games are lost at the free throw line? Those last 2 rules, I go back to rule number 4, turn, rip, and read, because we don't want to turn the ball over. If we turn the ball over 20 times in one game and miss 10 free throws and lose by 2 points, well, the other team didn't really beat you. You beat yourself by not controlling the things of the game that you should control. So that's very important. I mean, all free throws are me, a muscle memory. And I call my players PM. What's a PM, coach? A playmaker. What do they possess? They have great concentration. They make the play. Next piece is have fun. And I'm going to share this short story with you. My first state championship in 1996, my youngest son had leukemia. And I never forget that. And the mom was going to school, working full time, and going to the hospital. It was a semifinal, the day before the semifinal. It was after the semifinal game. And my wife was just tired, and my son had chemotherapy that day, and he was in the restroom, throwing up. And I went down there, and I saw what he was doing. It broke me down to tears, because I tell this piece. We went to the oncology department that day. Out of 20 young people that came in that day, he was the only one that lived. So it put basketball in a different perspective for us. Yeah, we love coaching basketball, but it's not who we are as people. So when I have rule number 6, have fun, because it's a game. It's not life and death. But let it build a determined attitude, which you teach kids. Always believe in yourself. Always give your best effort. And then the last piece is have mental focus. So let's take those 3 words, those syllables I just broke down. Fundamentals. I want our teams to have fundamentals. Play the right way. Play for each other. And the last rule is rule number 7. Be a team player. Be a program guy. The most important person on the team is all of them. Every team member from 13, 14, 15 are the most important ones to me because guess what? There is no guaranteed playing time. You'll play if the game goes one way or the other. But I still have expectation of you coming to practicing at game speed, being a great teammate, cheering for your teammates because what goes around comes around. And I had a kid this year at East Grand Rapids who followed those rules, and his time came. And because his mindset was so focused, and I had the opportunity to call his name, he was ready to play. So those 7 rules right there are basketball rules. So now let's flip it now. Let's go into life. And you work at corporate America at the highest level. So my thing is, what's the most important component? Communication. Championship teams talk to each other all the time. Championship businesses, organizations have great communication lines. There is no assuming going on. And I always tell my basketball players, spell the word assume. Right. Rule number 2, defend who you are as a corporation, as a business, as a school, as a person. No, I'm not talking about defending in terms of physicals, but if you stand for something or you fall for anything. So I stand for something. Defend who you are. Next piece, and we all know this, if you fall 7 times, you get up 8. Life is about rebounding. We've all been there. You're going to go there, but tell the young people, but you always get up. As long as you have life in your body, you wake up the next day, you have a chance to improve on yesterday. So that rule applies to life. Rule number 4, before you walk into any situation, turn and educate yourself about the environment you're walking into. When I say turn, rip, and read in basketball, well, before you walk into a situation in your life, educate yourself. Don't walk into an environment you not know what you're walking into. Those are controllable elements to us, to me, myself, and the teams that I've coached. Rule number 5, free throws. Well, what is a free throw? An opportunity to enhance your life. And if you educate yourself, you create opportunity for yourself. We all know luck through preparation creates opportunity. So that applies to life. The next rule, we all know this, we're all passing through. We're not going to be here 100 years from now. So what legacy do you leave? Are you a team player? Are you selfish? Are you here to change the world one person at a time or interact with another person like a team, like a General Motors, like a Ford, like a top 500 company? Those components are still in place. Last but not least, be a team player. Work for your organization like you really care. I'm in a situation right now where I'm the director of the Boys and Girls Club, lead club director. And my responsibility is to make sure all our agendas are going in the same way. It's not about me. It's not about you. There is no ego involved. I answer to the CEO, and he makes the final decision. But my responsibility is to give him information that he needs or she needs to help make that decision. And it may not be what we might just agree to disagree. But as a coach and as an assistant, as a team player part of the program, it's imperative that I tell people what's on my mind. Just don't sit there. So those rules apply to life. So I can put them on any side of the table, and it works. You've been there before. You know, if you have no communication, you're nothing. Right. If you don't know how to defend who you are, you're nothing. Why are you there? You understand me? Right. And you're gonna make some choices. You got to get up off the floor and rebound. Life's about rebounding, and educate yourself. Don't turn the ball over. Educate yourself. Turn, rip, and read the situation. Create opportunities. Have fun, and be a program person. How do you change the world one person at a time? How do you play for your organization?
Well, Coach, those are really 7 rules that I think anyone can take and use them, whether they're in sports, out of sports. If you aren't if you're a non-athletic student, you can still use them because it all really works. So tell us a little bit about, how you've impacted the future. I'm thinking about your captains clubs.
You know what? That's a good question. That's more impactful to me than winning the championships. I'm going to disclaim the championships, but for me to help these young people, young men, in a critical time of their development in life, and teaching the disciplines, that it takes to be successful, that is my proudest accomplishment. When they leave me, take the things that we put in their toolbox and say, hey, when you get there as a freshman, somebody's going to tell you a senior, say, hey, freshman, slow down. You're going to turn around and tell them to catch up. Because what do we do in a day-to-day world? We're competing. You're always competing against somebody in life. So that captain club is very, very impactful to me because these young men went to places like the University of Notre Dame, the University of Michigan, Michigan State, Fordham University, and all the other colleges in the state close in the Midwest area or further. And when they got there, they competed because they had a high level of self-esteem and they knew how to compete every day. And not only compete, but lead. I mean, leadership is very important. It's not made for everybody. And so I tell the kids, it's a very unpopular position, but somebody has to do it. Why not you? Don't stand for somebody doing something wrong and not speak up. And for those young people to take that with them, that's my most proudest accomplishment because I can add to it after the book was published. I can add 3 or 4 more names that I should add to it because they got to the environment of higher learning, they graduated on time, and they were captain of their college team. I'll put that record against anybody, anytime, anywhere. That means I've done my job as a coach.
I mean, and that's very inspirational. That what you just said, they've all been captains of their college teams, and
yes,
that's because they learned from you, and you encouraged them, and you helped them, see, help them pick themselves up because we all know life isn't easy.
No, not supposed to be.
But how do you keep on moving forward, especially nowadays? Can you share with us a little bit what's going on with, say, your basketball team at East Grand Rapids High, and how they're taking all this? I looked at I'm prefacing this by I looked at the schedule. All your games are canceled or postponed to way in the spring.
Yes. Well, when it first happened in March, we lost our last game of the season. And the next day, the state of Michigan shut the tournament down. And we sat at home, trying to figure out how would we conclude our season with a banquet, our annual basketball banquet. Well, we took the same tool that you and I are talking about right now and said, hey, let's have a Zoom meeting. Let's have all the young people that are part of the program, part of the team, meet on a certain day, and let's talk about the season. And let's everybody give something to everybody else and what you took from the season. And it echoes through the community because nobody had done it yet. And it gave us closure. You hear me? And a lot of love being spread because, like I said earlier in the conversation, the kids go home and tell their parents the truth. And people who look at East Grand Rapids from the outside looking in don't understand they're still kids. And for us to talk about how our season went, the adversity of the season, the accomplishments of the season, and how we treated each other. And I feel really good about it because those are the relationships going to last forever. And when I see those young people, we're going to look at each other in the eye and say, yeah, we accomplished something. Yes, we did. And it was almost unheard of based on the environment, but kids are going to go home and tell the truth. I hate to repeat that, continue to repeat that, but treat people the way you want to be treated. Kids want certain things from adults. People want certain things from each other. Respect, accountability, passion, and play for your team. And those are life lessons they can take with them for the rest of their lives.
Those are, your thoughts about having a Zoom. It's in March when no one knew what Zoom was, really.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I was like, really? Can I do that now? It was positive because the athletic director called me the next day. He was almost teary. He almost emotional. Coach Owens, thank you we had never thought about that at that point in time. You hear me? But it was just how you got to have closure with kids. I love kids. My wife told me this a long time ago. She said, you know what? Your gift is not coaching. You're okay. She keeps me humble. You're okay. But your gift is kids. You know what, Gloria? Even at the Boys and Girls Club, even at East Grand Rapids, it's really being trusted with the young people's lives. It's important. Some people take for granted that I can tell them the truth, tell them how to feel good about themselves, teach them how how to deal with adversity. And for me, it don't get no better. I know why I'm on earth. That makes sense. It's not about basketball. It's just about they remind me of somebody I used to know.
Yeah.
Derrick Owens. You hear me? I never forget that.
So you talked a lot about the kids, but I'm curious, and I think a lot of people might be curious, is what was it like walking into East Grand Rapids as a Black basketball coach? And for people that don't know East Grand Rapids, that's a very, very white area that's very affluent.
Yeah, it was a journey. It actually started with the Boys and Girls Clubs. I was coaching at Grand Valley State. And my wife, she suffers from fibromyalgia, and I didn't want to be across the state and something happened to her, and I've been married 43 years and I'm not around. So I decided to walk away from coaching. And Boys and Girls Club just had an open directorship. I said, yeah, that's good. Why not me? So I walked into the Boys and Girls Club, and when I got there, Gloria, I started crying because I knew I was at home. But in saying that, we got an opportunity to build an AAU program, which nobody heard of. We had kids from East Grand Rapids. We had kids from Grand Rapids Christian High School, Catholic Central, Ottawa, Union, because kids just want to play. And, all these better known programs, I couldn't compete with the Storm, and no disrespect to anybody else, but I had a gym. We could start something special right here. And lo and behold, my son, we had success when nobody even knew who I was. We had some success, and my kids, my two sons, Jeffrey and Derrick Jr., they had got an opportunity to coach as the JV and freshman coach at East Grand Rapids. I say, wow, okay, I'm not coaching. I'm good. So then when they got there was some turbulence, and they wanted to go in another direction from the head coach. And so they set up interviews. I think 30 people interviewed for the job. And when I got there, I'm very candid, upfront, transparent. This is my program. This is my program is about. They knew about the book. And I didn't really expect them to call me. And when they called me, I was shocked. I said, you sure you want Coach Owens at East Grand Rapids High School? And I went over there and I heard so many different rumors, but I had this experience of championship basketball and helping kids realize who they are. So when I got there, I met with the parents. I gave them their role, and please stay within your role, and know that your young man's gonna come home and tell you the truth. And I still don't get me wrong. I still get looks. Why are you here? People look and don't want to speak. It had nothing to do with me. I'm in trust with young people. And once the parents realize that those kids are playing a different way, they're playing the right way, everybody got on board. No, I'm not promising you're going to win championships right away. We had to change the culture. And, my son's being there already, which was a godsend. My transition was a little easier because even they feared like, well, the Coach Owens I know, he don't play. Well, no, we threw the golf clubs away the first day. We're not doing the country club attitude. And I literally had kids come up to me and say, Coach Owens, thank you for coaching me today. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I never had kids. Urban kids don't do that. But the kids from East Grand Rapids are still kids. And it was heartfelt. Like, okay, I can deal with this. But it's sort of funny because I have two rules. Play hard. That's how you feel about yourself. And follow directions. And like I told the parents, I would never come to your place of employment and tell you how to do your job. So please don't walk up to me after the game and talk about, I want to talk to you about not playing my kid. I'm going to say, have a great evening and walk away from you. Because now if you want to talk to me, please wait 24 hours after the game. Let emotions calm down, especially after a loss, and then we can dialogue. But I'm not going to, like Tom Izzo, I'm never going to talk to you about playing time. That's a CD. Well, what's the CD, coach? A coach's decision. So, no, I love kids. Do I go anywhere? Kids are going, like you said, they're going to tell the truth. They're going to go home. Coach Jones don't play favoritism. Coach Jones treat everybody the same. No, I don't. I treat everybody differently, but everybody's still the same. It's about the team. You hear me? And so they bought us my year number 5. I hope we play this year.
Yeah.
I got a pretty good underclassmen team. We had 4 years in the program. They know the system. They know the expectation. One thing they don't say to me, I'm going to let you go on to the next question. I say, Coach Jones, say what? I said, no, don't say what to me. Because you didn't stop and think. That cost you some push-ups. And to be consistent with you, the kids who walked in the door with me as freshmen, and now they're seniors, you see the next freshman class say what? I said, they even said push-ups. Can't say that to Coach on. They retain information. All I want to do is stop and think before you speak to me about what's going to come out your mouth. What doesn't work with me? I wasn't raised in that what environment. I thought it was a tone of disrespect, whether you know it or not. And I've seen it so many times. What, Mom? I said, ooh, wait a minute. Yeah. You don't know. We don't do that. And I say, don't talk to your mom that way. Say that again. That's just how I was raised. And it works for me because kids, they still want that. They want that accountability. They want that respect. But follow direction. Follow direction. That's a life skill.
Mm-hmm. You said something, and all those are really, really great ways to really deal with not just children, but adults as well.
Yes, be transparent.
Exactly. But you said something about, the parents coming up and talking to you, and you say, wait 24 hours and see if you do that. I mean, that's a rule that I started for myself. If I get, a letter or an email or something would happen, and you immediately want to go, at someone.
Yes.
And I found out that just waiting overnight, settle down, and that's something that everyone can benefit, and and you're teaching it, you're modeling it to your players at an early age.
You gotta be consistent. Gloria, you gotta be consistent with kids. You gotta say, adults too. You gotta say what you mean what you say. And hold everybody accountable to what we talked about. Even at the staff at the Boys and Girls Club, it's not the young people. It's just the adults that you have to keeping accountable to. Because if you don't, you have a 3-ring circus.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly. And the other thing that you said was respect. Everyone wants to be respected.
Yes.
And I think that's something that we as adults sometimes forget, that children, young people also want to be respected.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that as well.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because, when I got to the Boys and Girls Clubs, I went to the Seaman Club, it was like a 3-ring circus to me. Revolving door, kids coming and going. No. Rule number 1 that I established was the golden rule. And it goes wherever I go. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Being born in the orphanage, I didn't know people didn't like each other because of the color of their skin, so I got out to the real world. And it was like, wow, really? Because of this? So how do you break the human barrier down and get past the color and only see the person, the human being? So for me, it keeps everybody in check. I'm going to treat you the same way I want to be treated. Because I'm the facilitator of this environment does not give me the right to disrespect you, but you're not going to disrespect me either. So rule number 1, to teach kids that how to have self-love and how to treat people the way you want to be treated, whether they get it or not. Guess what? I'm dropping mustard seeds. Because guess what? We all know as adults, what goes around comes around. And to be able to teach kids that karma mindset, because by the end of the day, it's going to come back around. But just how life goes. We keeps the world in balance for us. That's so important. Then obviously the next rule for me would be, if I'm the facilitator, follow directions, please. Because if something goes wrong, they're not going to call you. They're going to call me. So I'm going to hold everybody accountable in the environment to follow the direction. It's a life skill you teach kids. Because one day you're going to have a manager, a director, and they're going to ask you to do this, the A, B, C, D, and you're not going to do D, well, you might not be working there anymore. So teaching kids that is so important. But every place that I've been, that's been I've taught at schools where kids come to school in handcuffs in Detroit. And before I left, they didn't fight in my room because they knew that I was the protector of the learning environment. And you have this gift and you find what your passion is, and you come to school to develop it. As an educator, that's what parents want from the educators. And I've been able to go throughout the country and teaching them same lessons in North Carolina, Durham, North Carolina, West Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. I mean, I've been entrusted to take care of young people. And I always say, adults, we got to figure this out. We're adults. But the young people that come to us, we got to show them the path to their destiny and the rules that go along with that path. And for me to do that, wherever I go, it works out for me because I can show you, but I can tell you.
Now that's great. I mean, because just because they're younger than you, just because they allegedly have no power, doesn't mean that you have the right to treat them with
Yes,
disrespect.
yes.
Also with grown-ups or with people. I mean, I remember, uh, going to the store when everything was shut down because of the pandemic, and I would thank all the stock people that I saw there, and they also thanked me because I was wearing a mask. This was before they had the universal mask rule, but because it doesn't just protect me, it protects everyone else around you.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I told them in the March, I said, you know what? I told to my leadership team at the Boys and Girls Club, I said, better start wearing masks. They looked at me like I was talking to myself. I asked them like this, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Now look at where we are. What if we had just did that from the word go, from the beginning? Would we be, I mean, it is what it is, but
right. It is, and
what,
everyone has their own opinion, but I follow the data and I follow the facts.
yeah, science doesn't lie.
No.
So
We're almost at the end, but let's make a little switch.
okay.
You wrote a book. And
Yes, I did.
there we go. And I'm going to put
Thank
your
you.
website
Thank you.
in.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about this.
Wow. I think it was during a adverse time in my life, and I'll share this with you. I had this high recruit, I think I talked to you about it, and he was going toward the University of Kentucky. And well, they said this is how the game is played, the college game. Well, Coach Owens, if you can convince this young man to come to the University of Kentucky to play basketball, men's basketball, we're gonna offer you a job. Okay. Worked all summer long, had fun. They saw how Coach Owens conducts things. And so I got time to sign my contract. And the guy that was the head coach at the time, he said, well, Coach Owens, you're 43 years old. Why you want to come to this level now? I looked at him. I said, first and foremost, I've earned this right through my work, through my skill set. Not because this young man, I didn't really coach in high school, but I found out that they wanted him. They didn't want me. It was a life-altering decision. So my wife and I had just left Detroit, and we ended up going to North Carolina. My wife works for corporate, so she can get any job she wants. We wasn't really worried about that. And when I walked into North Carolina, when I walked into Durham, North Carolina school system, I put my credentials on the table, and they said, Coach Owens, what school do you want to teach and coach at? So I picked Northern Durham, and it was great. It's a great journey because at that point in time in our lives, all our boys were in college or finishing college, and it was about time for us. And they gave me an opportunity to choose where I wanted to go, and that's when I started to pen the book because we have been through a lot through basketball. And what we found out, Gloria, is not basketball is not who we are. It's what we do. And I started to pin my journey from Sarah Fisher Orphanage to Northern Durham, North Carolina. And we actually won that year. And I kept saying about my championship game rules. And I said, well, we didn't do this. And then we ended up going to the championship game and winning it. And everybody was like, wow. So it just sort of reinforced for me that those 7 rules that I talk about every day, let's leave them let's put them in a book. And I tell people this all the time, especially young people, the Boys and Girls Clubs, say, Coach Owens, you made a book? I said, no. I wrote a book, and I tell young people all the time my very humble beginnings at Sarah Fisher. I said, let me tell you this. This is the blueprint, my blueprint for success, no matter where you go. And, to be able to teach kids these rules about life, about themselves, in the book. Not adverse times that you heard, my son had cancer. I mean, at the pinnacle of my career, we made changes in our life and it altered our life direction. But what I found out, Gloria, everything's in divine order. So to be able to write this book and show the young people that, hey, this is where I came from. I fought through it. I had a good adults, like you said, educators, teachers, coaches who gave me the right information. And I just wanted to share it with kids. You understand me? Because, this I'm getting corny on you, because my name is actually Derrick Owens. So my initials are D-O. So if I could do it, you could do it. Love yourself. Treat people you want to be treated. Have this gift. Develop that gift. Have a passion. But you got to go to school to develop your passion and don't settle. I go to two communities in a matter of 5 minutes. Kids in East Grand Rapids, it's high expectation. They're going to go to college. It's already written. Kids in urban America, the boys and girls from Franklin and Madison, they don't see success. They don't know what success looks like. So let me help you navigate to success. Don't settle for your community, because you're better than that. Get out of Grand Rapids, go see the world. This is waiting on you. But when you get there, know who you are and treat people you want to be treated. Teach that every day, they'll get no better from me.
Oh, that's great. Is there, and actually, hang on, let me hide this. Okay. Is there, first of all, I just want to let you know and our viewers that in the comments section, we show the, where we can get your book through Amazon. And
yep. Yes, ma'am. And on my website too. You go to my website, order the book on my website, and I'll ship it out to you.
Yep.
We have shirts, stuff like that, things different, all the stuff that kids love. Just want to impact the world one kid at a time. Because you know what, Gloria? I was the kid that wasn't supposed to make it. I made it. So, and I share that story with the kid. My brother spent 41 years incarcerated. I went the other way. But it came down to choices, loving yourself. So we teach kids that, and guess what I find, even in East Grand Rapids, that teach kids how to love themselves.
Yeah.
Different expectations from parents, you hear me?
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, thank you. And are there any parting thoughts that you would like to share with us?
Yes. People always ask just one question. You got married at 19 years of age? I say, yes, I did. No, I will not let my sons do it. But life is about timing. And I found out some very adverse lessons in high school. And when the dust cleared, this young lady named Cheryl Moore, who has been my wife for 43 years, and I love my wife. I'm in love with my wife. You know why? Like you, she never tells me what I want to hear. She tells me what I need to know. And she's been there every step of the way. She probably coached better than me, but I just love her, the life partnership we had. I thank God for her every day, because like you, she's a strong Black woman. She don't need me. But, we decided to make this team together, and the year be 43, last day of the year. And I give her kudos. I give her mad respect, because I wouldn't shudder to think about where I would be if not for her. So in closing, that's for me.
Wow. Thank you. And thank your wife for sharing us with you for just a little time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you for having me, Gloria. Please, I give you kudos. Keep doing what you're doing. Change the world one person at a time. You're doing it right now.
Thank you, Coach. And if you could stay a couple minutes afterwards.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So thank you so much for watching, for listening. Coach Owen has been very inspirational. And, what he says is change the world one person at a time. And then also treat everyone with respect. So we will be back in 2 weeks. And, please say, thank you to everyone that you run across, even if they're on, your screen. But also, don't forget that we will be, like I said, every 2 weeks. Check our schedule. We are on Facebook Live as well as we having our own YouTube channel. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care.